Good morning. Uh, Beautiful garden. I was sitting in contemplation this morning and I got a big chuckle, a big laugh out of we all seem to have landed in the retreat where the teachers don't know what to say. I think that's pretty funny. I mean, there's a certain time in life where that would have been like, what? I paid money for this? But then Kathy read maybe I'm supposed to just say ideas, rhubarb, you know. Uh, Sharon's brought forward a couple of times the image of the animating power moving through the flute. Or she was talking about the bone tradition last night, which she and I both have a real affinity to and probably are sisters in at some point because it's it's real prominent in both of us. Kind of a shamanic direct path. Um, the first kind of, well, within this time, this Jennifer-ness, that I came into sort of understanding of hollowness was with a teacher, Mama Lek Chaya. She was a revered healer in Thailand, and her lineage was tribal midwifery and herbalism and healers that lived in the mountains between Burma and Thailand. And in traditional Thai medicine, the bodhisattva vows are the center of the medicine. They're not, it's not like a go to church on Sunday thing and like go into the little booth and confess whatever you need to do. Even when you go to the hospital in Chiang Mai, the very first thing you see are people making, bowing before the Buddha, making their prayers, calling in the divine assistance. And it's a hollow reed tradition where you become available and allow the medicine that is to flow. And so that was kind of my first, introduction to it. I had a nursing degree, and I was a hospice nurse, so I had a sense of what being, not fixing, is about, because you don't really fix the end of life. It's kind of like birth. It happens of its own accord. What am I trying to get around to? That sense, though, of hollowness, emptiness, availability, kind of like vital availability in a agendaless, no agenda way, started with that introduction with those traditional healers from Thailand and Janice, my good friend Janice, who some of you know. And even as the shifts here, the major shifts of self-identification have fallen out, and even when the view is, I don't know how to say that. Time gets real weird when you try to talk about it, but that of wholeness, no separateness, that sense of emptying out continues to ripen. It continues to unfold. it continues to deepen it into territory, you might say, realms, dimensions that you couldn't have ever, ever, ever have imagined. I'm going to read just something here since we got going with Meister Eckhart last night that maybe shines a little bit of light on this. Your true beauty. I've said this many times and in many ways. You must die in order to live. You must live so that your whole life is the love of God, and let go of all that you are, relinquishing everything, for only then can you ever hope to discover your true self. This confuses the fearful, worries the proud, and offends the powerful. And that is the truth. And you'll only begin to grasp it when you let go of all that you think you are and all you hope to become, abandoning your false self. Cast yourself out into the fathomless depths of the Godhead, beyond every image and thought you might have of God, for only there you will find the beauty within you which reflects the lovingness of God. Everything, they all say it, everything. And I started getting a notion of that. Like sometimes I would drive back from the Mama Lek workshops, and this was a woman who was a very revered, almost like a saint sort of character, revered healer, where people would come and thank you, Timo. I just want to make sure people can hear because they were not that high. Okay. Thank you. People would come and they would be like in wheelchairs, and then through her availability, her view, her condition of being, they would walk out. And if she was very hands-on, that's how, the feminine way, and she couldn't speak any English, so if she was going to teach us, we were just going to have to put our hands in her hands and her hands in our hands and, go for it. But if she saw the least, I don't know what she could see. She could see a lot. But if she saw the least hesitation from the ego, she would come over and be like, for the medicine, for the medicine. And just, out of there. So I started kind of getting this notion of it. And sometimes I would drive back through the desert of southern Nevada because I had driven down to Northern California from Oregon to go to these workshops with Janice and Mama Leg. And all of a sudden, there would be nobody driving the car. But I had no words for any of that. I didn't know about awakening. I didn't know about self-discovery. I didn't know about teachers, lineages, any of that. I had the pods in the car with me. Some of you who have had Thai massage know what I'm talking about. The herbs themselves were mighty allies in self-discovery, but there would be all of a sudden nobody, and I would kind of start grasping around because I was driving back to Timo and our daughter and my life and making spaghetti, and there's got to be somebody doing something, what's going to happen? And I can remember having a sense of, maybe this is too far. What is this? How will life, it brings up a lot of questioning from the process within oneself that does things, has things, wants things. I mean, that thing, that process within oneself that is naming everything and categorizing and giving meaning and deciding and, positioning, always positioning, always positioning in relationship to something else. I am this when this reflection is in front of me, and I am this when this reflection is in front of me, and always positioning. It started really threatening that because, all of a sudden none of it would be there and there would be nobody. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, I remember calling my mother one time when my daughter was still totally in love with me, and she was like 3 or 4, and I couldn't ever imagine her going anywhere without me. And, and I'm like, I don't know how you let all your kids go, Mom. And she's like, she hasn't been a teenager yet. And her point was, as she went on to elaborate, like, just be where you are. Like, time will take care of itself, and maturity takes care of itself, and ripening takes care of itself, and the next moment takes care of itself. So wherever you are in the unfolding, I mean, it's kind of like Sharon was saying, okay, from this chair, from this perspective, this view, you're here. And I just can't imagine any other reason you would be unless this was sort of your destiny. Because, and I say that when people are like having personal sessions too, I can't imagine why anybody wants to meet with this at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday unless they've got some kind of unfolding going on, even if they're not aware of it. So wherever one is in the unfolding, it's just to be sincere about it and to sort of meet it with this understanding. Like I often have, the song that evoke a kind gentleness towards and with and in relationship with whatever's happening. I mean, eventually the states of being that unfold become a condition that is. Eventually the states of being kind of run their course, and the way is the way. The condition, it's not no longer a state of being that's coming and going, coming and going. It's a condition, it's a way that is. But as that's happening, it's kind of like the rose unfolding. If we get impatient and that's okay too. I'm not saying there's like right behavior, wrong behavior. There's just more or less flow around it, more or less cooperation with the unfolding that is going to happen. So you could sit there and like tear the rose petals off, open, 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 and then you've got a big mess. Or, I mean, like I say, let nature take its course. Let nature take its course. Not this nature idea that is like something out and beyond and away. What is here, breathing, animating. We come into these areas of rub, of friction, where the deep waters get churned, the dark corners get illuminated, necessarily, And, we get kind of disturbed. But this disturbance, which often goes along with a loss of meaning, what we thought, things meant. What we thought things meant. That all has to go. So when we bump up against that, we can recognize it as part of that natural ripening. It's like somebody said, I'm sure somewhere, we have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. In my growing up household, you went to dinner with my mom and her sisters. If you said you had a sliver or any little tiny thing, you got 5 aunts and your mother like opening their bags. Let's be a pharmaceutical store going, here, there's a pill for that. There's a pill for any and every uncomfortableness from where I grew up. It was all in good. They were trying to, be kind and make their love comfortable. But there was never a time for sort of, and then in contrast, you had my dad and his family where it was like, Dad, da 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 da, and he'd be like, well, I don't know if that hurts, just take it off for a while and put it over there, and by the time you get back, it'll be gone. Zen cowboy. Totally a Zen cowboy. A lot of truth in what he had going on, but as a kid, you're like, okay, go to the pill cupboard, and sort around in there, or just, totally ignore it. My parents are beautiful people, and I love them, and they gave me, and I'm not trying to do the, like, woe is me thing at all. I got nothing to complain about. It's just I'm giving an example of how we all have been habituated and conditioned to, if it's uncomfortable, then maybe we shouldn't go there. We got to find a way out through like defense or rationalization or some kind of emotional state that will really grab our attention. Here it was always righteous indignation. I could be so indignant. Why not? It'd just be like, the Aquarian, like, oh God. Yeah. Woo. Just amazing to think about. But I get it. It was like, I'm uncomfortable. And the righteous indignation would just temporarily soothe that. And everybody's got their own thing with that. It would soothe it, like, oh, so-and-so's in the White House. Like, whatever. The positionality temporarily soothes the situation. But there it is, man, right under the surface, lurking, for the next little scratch of, the next buildup. It hasn't ever been met in the light, in that empty, hollow, where the light of, what did Eckhart say? The lovingness of God can meet it. The transformation, the transmutation. I just was never ever exposed or taught that at all, that within this experience was the transforming, illuminating, radiating, animating power of God. Who knew? A lot of people evidently, but not here. It was more of a, building character, which is a beautiful thing. That old-fashioned idea of like adopting the virtue, good behavior, civil behavior, and learning how to talk to people in a way that, isn't aggressive. All of that's really handy. It's beautiful. But there comes a time when it all gives way. It just gives way like a dam on a river. It just gives way. And there's no, it would be like trying to stop gravity. Let's just all stop gravity. We're having our experience, whatever it may be, and it may be more or less uh, enlightened, more or less true. And meanwhile, like, I forget how many trillion cells are in the physicalities that we're all taking care of, are just dividing and like living and breathing and creating, and like, you know what I mean? Like, the creative potential is in every single cell, and it's all just going on right here, right now. And then there is this narrative, 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 commentary. Somebody was calling it a meaning maker, like the maker of meaning. Um, the self-referencing, referencing, all of that is just so captivating habitually for the attention. It's just a habit, a condition that has been practiced so reverently for however many eons at this point. I don't even know when it would go back to. I don't know. Eventually, this hollowness, if we want to call it that, that's a nice round word. I like it. It somehow I don't know, I guess because it's maybe Mama Lek with the hollow reed, but it's a little bit more descriptive than emptiness. It's like a womb, like Sharon was saying, like a bowl. This hollowness becomes so empty, so empty of of all belief, even in personhood. That there becomes a view where wholeness is. You see through to the heart of everything, past all the behaviors, past all the apparent appearances, like the young man in prison. Look at that appearance, and he saw right through it to the heart of it. Freedom, beauty, love. You see, it's filled with the view of the illuminating, radiating light itself. And the what we see before us is none other than us, none other than the contents of the mind. It's not an othering anymore. It's not an othering. It's an enjoying of individuation and creation in its wild diversity. Some people really don't like the word wild, but I love the word wild. Wilderness. Wilderness. What did Aja always used to say? I think it came from like the Knights in the Round Table or something, but that allegory, but you go to the darkest place in the forest and you enter there. Wilderness. It's so far beyond what we're believing and knowing, right? It can't be accessed through conceptual understanding, but it can be like when I was practicing with Mama Lek, there was still a lot of conceptualization going on. A lot, like hollow reed, okay, and using the imagination and all of that. That's all really useful, skillful, and beautiful. I mean, here, I don't, I was asking Sharon last night, I don't know, but imagination kind of went with all the rest. And what I got is what right here, right now, and that's it. But which is not at all, I mean, I can't even really speak to that. It's so powerful. And I mean, you just get down on your knees, is what you do. You get down on your knees and with that realization. It's like our daughter, when she was, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something, came skipping into the living room and she had drawn this picture. You know, just I wouldn't have known what it was, but it was like lines coming into the top of a little stick figure head, and then all these like other lines coming out through the heart of the same stick figure. And she said, "Mom, God gives me my brilliancies, and my brilliancies come out through my heart." And she was right. She was right. I didn't really catch, I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I got it, on an intuitive and heart to heart level. But that's what you come to realize, that like we are the stained glass window. We are the sun. The sun is shining through our brilliancies. Our brilliancies. They can be more or less clouded over, but they're not. They are always. They are always. They are eternal. They are original and written into the story of creation and forevermore. Forevermore, eternally, infinitely. They're just, it's like, we can talk about cloudy days, obscuring the sun, or the window, with the shades drawn, but it's like water is water, right? It's H2O. It's water. I mean, we don't really know what it is, but it's of the substance. Let's just go with the metaphor. So there's a still, clear pool, and there's more or less, garbage of belief, and deciding to believe that we need to live from lack and scarcity and war and division, and that's just the way it is, and like all of that, just polluting it. So maybe you don't even know. Maybe one day we walk in there and we don't even know that there's a pool of water there. It just looks like a pile of garbage. We can't even, see. But it isn't that it's not there, and it isn't that it's not what it is always. It is always water. Does that make any sense? Do you see what I'm saying? It can't be damaged. It can't be changed. It is what it is. And it shines as identification is cleared out. And that's the part that that piece that still thinks, if I'm not somebody, I'll be nothing. But the thing is we will be the no thingness of God. That the Hadja used to say suchness, and shine as what we are. We're being emptied of all that we believe, have, do, want, think we need. To be as we are, shine as we are. I would never have predicted, I would never have guessed. It came as a complete and utter shock because, the small self just can't have an experience of uncaused, unconditioned love. It just can't. And I just would never have guessed. I wouldn't have been able to even imagine what a joy individuation is. I was one of these people who wanted to grab onto the idea that, like, I'm from the Pleiades or something, even though I was always very earthy, people would tell me things and I'd think, okay, because I don't want to be of this war and of this division and of this, I don't know, individuation felt like a struggle for a long time because there was someone in there trying to do it. And what comes forward is, almost elation, kind of ecstasy, which is a time for another talk with that, because that can get really imbalanced and can become its own cul-de-sac. But if you even just tune in for a moment, even just to these sounds that we're hearing, very purely, ecstasy? Anybody? I mean, a lot of ecstasy going out there. In here as this. And then we have to alter consciousness, and that's okay. I can get on a little bit of a tear with that, but the experience here, the direct experiences here, is if you come even one step past the mediation of the mind into the light of true nature, God, love, you don't need anything else. You don't need medicine. You don't need altered states, breathing. It's all fine. It's all fine. But it's like when you were reading about she just let go. She didn't need the 5-step program. She didn't need it's reminiscent of that piece of writing that you read. All of the progressive path, please hear me. We all, if it's working for you in a sincere way, And it's not just a spiritualized ego hanging onto it for comfort and or in a self-congratulatory way. Great. I mean, here, like one of the methods that has really been coming forward just spontaneously, I didn't know it was a thing when it started up, and then I told somebody about it, and they were like, well, that's Ho'oponopono. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started kind of looking into it, and it's been very powerful. Do I now claim it as my way and stand on it as my platform? And I got total, I'm going to row that boat until, the end of time. I don't know. It's spontaneously arising as wisdom, and there's a deep resonance here at this point. We have to be willing to give it away. Give it away, let it pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. While we, because there's the getting still and questioning, and we kind of got that. We've kind of got it. But as young Stephen, as young Karmacholian would say, keep your eyes on God. We're working with that. Because it's awful easy to keep our eyes on the seduction of the narrative and the war within, which is then reflected in what we see without. I mean, it's on level 10 right now. If you haven't already divided off, there's plenty of opportunity to, if you just tune in to Google News at any moment. The wisdom arises in that hollowness. It's guaranteed. It can't not. It's how it is. So if one is still, truly, meaning not believing, not storifying, narrating into, like dragging the past forward with all of its terror and horror and trauma, or projecting onto the future with what if, but I'm talking about still. Wisdom arises, and it could be very surprising. It could be, who knows what it could be. I never read the Bible. I didn't grow up in a home where there was any religion. I always say it was hard work. Hard work was our dogma. But things would come into consciousness that were undeniable, inarguable. Like, I am that I am. And the whole system rests. It rests. Ho'oponopono. I don't know what yours will be. The creation is limitless. I mean, I guess Sarah's not here maybe this morning. But for her, it's like, these drawings that are coming forward that she never ever knew. I mean, and I don't mean that we'll all be teachers, or we'll all be artists, or we'll all be this, or we'll all be that, because that's just not how a garden works. That's just not how the garden blooms. The brilliancies rise up, come down, and in liberated, wholeheartedness, find their expression, their reflection in the view. We just hung out for so long in some version of ourselves that is just not true at all, whatever your particular version of that might be. However your makeup is to, the narrative can convince that we're not good enough, or we don't have enough, or we aren't what we actually are, or, they got it, I don't, some kind of position. We've just hung out there for a long time, so letting go of it can feel like you're naked. Absolutely naked. And that the sky is falling. And heaven help us. But you are as you are. We are as we are. I am that I am, that I am, that I am. Let it shine. There's a woman in Southern Oregon. She's 84 years old. She's a nun, or was, or I don't know if she's still in the church. I think she's originally from Minnesota. And she has written some beautiful things. Barbara Lawton shared this at retreat last year. So I'll just share this to end. It's called Mother Wisdom Speaks. Some of you I will hollow out. I will make you a cave. I will carve you so deeply the stars will shine in your darkness. You will be a bowl. You will be the cup in the rock collecting rain. I will hollow you with a flame. I will not do this to make you clean. I will not do this to make you pure. You are clean. You are pure. I will do this because the world needs the hollowness of you. I will do this for the space that you will be. I will do this because you must be large, a bowl, a passage. People will find their way through. A bowl people will eat from. And their hunger will not weaken them unto death. A cup to catch the sacred rain. My daughter, do not cry. Do not be afraid. Nothing you need will be lost. Nothing you need will be lost. I am shaping you. I am making you ready. Light will blow in your hollowing. You will be filled with light. Your bones will shine. The round, open center of you will be radiant. I will call you brilliant one. I will call you daughter who is wise, son and daughter who are wise. I will call you transformed. Thank you.